6 p.m. in Mora, that's in the Mayo Sava division of the Fano region of the Republic of Cameroon. Same time in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the primetime newscast on Equinoxe television with me. For me, I'm Sean Sander. In our top stories tonight, in the city of Bamenda in the northwest region, the quest for clean water has become a daily struggle with residents facing uncertainty and hardship. Tonight, we bring you a gripping tale of resilience and challenges faced by the local people of the northwest regional chieftain Bamenda in a situation qualified as a growing crisis challenging the local inhabitants. Also in this edition of the news, we take on a power tussle or power grip across Cameroon. In this other story, as authorities in Cameroon in a bold move to reclaim millions lost in revenue, authorities have launched a crackdown on electricity fraud across the National Triangle. But can they overcome the shadows of corruption and urban chaos? Tonight, we examine the chances of success in a system where roles are often bent. Stay tuned for our primetime report in this edition of the news. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Once again, we say welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for choosing to be informed by the best of television. This is Equinoxe. Equinoxe is live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city. Equinoxe Central News Desk. You are on to our primetime newscast live from Cameroon and across the world. Now, we're starting with one of our top stories. We told you about the power tussle as authorities are fighting hard in a challenging context that's in Cameroon. Now, in a bold move to reclaim millions lost in revenue, authorities across the country have launched a crackdown on electricity fraud. But can they overcome the shadows of corruption and urban chaos? We are taking on this story compiled by Innocent as they just how they are struggling to get things correct in order to be able to reclaim losses. This has been recommended by Cameroon's Minister of Water and Energy, who says the government makes a loss of over 6 billion francs CFA every year as money into unaccounted sources of electricity consumption. Prepares to potentially regain control of the electricity distribution segment in the coming months. The government is intensifying efforts to combat electricity fraud. Authorities say the phenomenon costs the sector nearly 60 billion francs CFA every month, funds they hope to recover through a nationwide crackdown. However, the challenge remains considerable. In major cities, unplanned urban growth and anarchic construction often make it easier for households and businesses to install illegal electricity connections, explains Energy Sector Observer Dieudonné Tedjusé.
Il faut travailler en adéquation avec les mairies qui délivrent les permis d'implantation et les permis de bâtir, à l'effet de maîtriser l'occupation rationnelle du terrain.
Beyond enforcement, analysts say the problem is also tied to electricity pricing and service quality. Government officials note that the average cost of electricity stands at about 106 francs per kilowatt hour, one of the lowest tariffs in Africa. But consumer rights groups argue that Cameroon has yet to fully exploit its vast hydropower potential to improve supply and reduce cost, pushing some households towards illegal connections.
Le gros problème, c'est la présidente de la République.
Economist Louis-Marie Cagde also highlights another burden on the sector, the non-payment of electricity bills by certain public institutions, which further weakens the system's financial stability.
Le petit type qui se débrouille au quartier.
Experts add that tracking frauds will also require dismantling the networks orchestrating illegal connections. According to a sector analyst, these ringleaders often benefit from influential backing within various layers of society, and many are released shortly after being arrested, making enforcement efforts even more difficult. As a day of the crackdown launched by Cameroonian authorities against electricity theft. Now, traders at the central market in Mora, that's in the Mayosava division of the Far North region, say that they won't leave the space that was opened for them several years ago. They say it was opened in 1950 to a new site being proposed by municipal authorities of Mora in a recent protest demonstration. The traders say that the new site is too small to accommodate the huge number of traders at the Mokolo Central or Old Market. Their worries are compiled by Simat Njikan Gabriel in the following report.
Traders at the old market of Mora in the Mayo-Chanaga division, Far North region, are angry. The news about them leaving the old market for a new site made available by the council is the bone of contention. We are not happy. The move that the mayor is about to take, whether he wants it or not, he can't destroy this market. Development is not done this way. If you want to do development, you add, and it's not destroying our former market to build a new one. The stores here were constructed by our great-grandfathers some 120 years ago. Many traders with responsibilities, and you want to destroy the market and move to another market constructed on a football pitch. I consider this as another form of repatriation. You can't displace over 1,000 traders for one trader. For the traders, it is time the justice system of the country wakes up from sleep and listen to the cry of its citizens. If we can't feel free here, it's not in another place we shall be free. If we are a country that respects the law, then we are requesting for our rights to be respected. The stores he even constructed are not up to half of what we have here. They divided each store into two. We won't live here. The size of the new market is another worrying factor. The stores at the new site are not up to 95. Here we have over 1,000, and you want to displace many people. The traders weren't even informed about the move, and some already have land documents signed by government and local authorities. For the municipal authority of Mora, the move taken by the council is to bring more development so that Mora will be like the regional capital. We asked those who want to come and get their space in the new market. Out of 127 traders, 17 rejected it, but 8 later came back to the census and we added their names. The deadline is March 31. If they leave the space, the money we have is to construct a business center and another section be given out to a fuel station to beautify our town. March 31st, 2026 is the deadline for these traders to leave the old market in Mora to the newly constructed market. Afeasui.
I was staying in the northern parts of the Republic of Cameroon this time around, still in the Far North, anywhere to say that the Far North region for the past years has been experiencing high levels of insecurity, including frequent attacks from members of the terrorist group Boko Haram on local inhabitants. Because of the unfolding nature of the attacks, the local inhabitants are calling on authorities to help them by stationing security posts in almost all the localities, especially in areas highly hit by attacks from Boko Haram. This call was echoed recently in Marwa, as Immaculate Fogwe, or rather Glory Mala, tells us in the following report.
The 70-year-old man was killed by 3 suspected individuals in Benegil Papata, a locality situated about 20 kilometers from the town of Marwa in the Far North region of Cameroon. The victim, whose name we got as Boba Faldi, was a businessman who was targeted and monitored by an armed gang for over a year, as they believe he was in possession of 2 million francs CFA. The man was attacked and killed in his home. Trying to fight back, that was how the knife was seized from him and used to stab him to death. The elements of the Mobile Intervention Unit number 10 were immediately alerted and an investigation was launched. The operation led to the arrest of 3 suspects between the ages of 22 and 25.
The reinforcement that came yesterday in the morning succeeded to apprehend 3 of them, whom we have in our hidings now. We want to put them at the disposal of the judicial police for more investigations.
So any advice to the...
They are presently in detention. For now, the forces of law and order call on the local population of Papata to cooperate with them so they can jointly end the growing insecurity in this part of the region.
And now away from human interest onto something else, we are asking the question if the call from Ghanaian Cardinal Peter Turkson will be heeded to by Cameroonian authorities. He called on Cameroonian authorities to present a reconciliation program to Pope Francis or Pope Leo, who is expected in Cameroon. He says this will be one of the biggest opportunity for the nation Cameroon that has been witnessing insecurity in the English-speaking region for about 10 years now, to find peace under the mediation of the Holy Father, Pope Francis or Pope Leo, who is expected in Cameroon. The Cardinal's message has been reacted to by Catholic authorities, but also Cameroonians. We have their reactions compiled by reporter Immaculate Fogwe in the following report.
Cardinal Peter Turkson's outing at Douala St. Peter and Paul's Cathedral during the celebration of the 70th anniversary of the Archdiocese of Douala serves as a wake-up call for the government to revisit their efforts in ending the persistent Anglophone crisis, which continues to cause havoc.
The war was declared on our people. The ramifications of the war is now the killing within the same people who were supposed to be the victims of this situation. We want the Pope to know and let there be a clear plan of coming back to peace, to sit down and to talk peace.
I think Cardinal Turkson is re-echoing the voices of millions of Cameroonians, ordinary Cameroonians who have been crying for the end of hostilities, because Cameroonians have long suffered from displacement, uncertainty, killings. But the bigger question is, do we reconcile after fighting, or we reconcile during fighting?
Father Bintum John Maimo and Song Derek believe that the Pope's message of peace can go a long way in changing the narrative. They emphasize the need for a collective effort to resolve the conflict.
We pray that those who love this country will be chosen to talk to the Pope about the peace process, which Cardinal Turkson in Douala has proposed, that the only gift that this country, the bishops of this country and this country can give to the Pope is the reconciliation program, that the Pope will carry that with joy back to...
At this time, religious leaders are calling on political leaders. It is time to understand that peace, love, reconciliation is not only a political obligation, but also a moral obligation, where all Cameroonians at this time are begging for peace and hoping that the leaders listen so that we enjoy and rebuild the country we are dreaming of.
As the Pope is expected in Cameroon from April 15 to the 18th, locals in the conflict regions are holding on to hope for what they term a miracle to end the crisis.
That's all for the first part of the news. Coming up is Talking Points. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. On Talking Points tonight, we are receiving a teacher and a social critic. We are receiving teacher Sama Abba Mungwa. He is based in Buea in the southwest region of Cameroon. And of course, we're glad to have him again once on this program. Now, he is a well-known critic in Cameroon. Like I said, a teacher. He is the brain behind Una Mumu Don't Do. He accepted to share his thoughts with us on this new program introduced by Cameroon's Ministry of Secondary Education, that is to fight against what is well known as brain drain, especially in that sector. Now, good evening, Mr. Sama Abba Mungwa. Thanks for joining us on Talking Points tonight.
Good evening, Armstrong. Good evening, Equinoxe family. It's my pleasure to be live on set again once more. It's always my pleasure to answer the call of Equinoxe whenever it is made. Good evening to everybody in the house.
You are known by far many Cameroonians as a social critic with an attentive mind in happenings across the country, but you are also a teacher in the secondary educational sector in Cameroon. As an actor in this sector, what's your appraisal of the General Staff Census initiative of the Ministry of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, in order to fight against this issue of mass exodus of teachers in Cameroon to Europe and America?
Yes, Armstrong, talking about the acute nature of the problem of teacher scarcity, because teacher exodus, as you prefer to call it, primarily results in teacher scarcity, where you don't have teachers in the classrooms, which is further compounded by the government's decision not to recruit teachers of secondary education for the past, I think, 3 years or so, where student teachers who were trained in the teacher training colleges of ENS and NSET were trained privately and were not offered automatic recruitment into the public service. And even before that 3-year window of suspension, about 5 years prior to that, the numbers had dwindled to alarming situations, alarming levels, where we had departments that were recruiting one teacher, as bad as one teacher per department. In some very luxurious cases, they were taking 10, unlike in the past where we used to have 30, 40, 50 teachers per department recruited every year. The situation became so bad that there were subject areas where teachers were not recruited at all, while some other subject areas were lucky to have had single teachers or 3 teachers or maximum 10 teachers recruited. And that went on for, it was effectively scraped off, and there has been no automatic absorption of teachers into the public service, which means that for as long as 8-9 years, we have had situations where some subject areas have not had teachers recruited at all, and with a good number of teachers going on retirement, official retirement, some going on escapist retirement, that's abandonment, even though they are still in the country, and those who effectively go out of the country, the situation becomes very acute because there is the relative student-teacher ratio in the schools is terribly bad, Armstrong, I must say. Thank God that in public schools we have PTAs, where there are schools where PTA personnel far surpasses the number of teachers recruited, posted and remunerated by the government. I don't know how bad the situation of public schools would have been if we didn't have these PTA structures in our schools. So again, as I said, it's a very acute situation. Teachers are leaving. You might then want to ask me my assessment of the reasons why this issue of teacher exodus has suddenly become so acute. Maybe that should be your next question, Armstrong.
Yeah, you are talking there just how bad the situation is there. Then many Cameroonians have been questioning and wondering actually aloud how possible this measure can go, or how far this particular initiative of the minister could go to be able to solve the problem that is not only affecting the families of teachers living, but also the kids that are supposed to be effectively taught by these teachers.
Yes, Armstrong, you asked me about the sustainability of this move. We have had so many of these, just like we have had an uncountable number of anti-corruption strategies that have been put in place, by APVA 1, APVA 2, and all others such appellations. We are in a human society where it will be utopic for me. It will be falsely utopic for me to imagine that we will ever find a society, a Cameroonian society, without people trying to use shortcuts. How sustainable have been the other measures? So it is just another innovation. To me, I'm very pessimistic, which would eventually end just like the others to have ended. Again, as they say, as the birds learn to fly without perching, the hunters too learn to shoot without missing. Or may I turn it around and say, as the hunters have learned to shoot without missing, so the birds too have learned to fly without perching. Whichever way, as a government comes up with innovative strategies to curb illegal exodus and abandonment, citizens too are devising better measures of cutting corners and seeing how they can make a better life out of the misery that they are served by those in power. Armstrong.
Prof, this problem is not unique to Cameroon, but in some countries, say advanced countries, they've adopted the biometric control of teachers' presence in classrooms. Can this not also be adopted by Cameroon or, say, the Ministry of Secondary Education?
It's funny to imagine to hear you talk about the introduction of biometric human resource control in a country with less than 30% internet coverage, in a country with less than 35% electricity coverage. You are talking about biometric control of teachers, biometric filling of logbooks. A pilot sample experimental exercise was done in some schools in the country, including my school, the Bilingual Grammar School, Moliko Boya. I don't speak for the authorities of the school, though. It was done in the school, but it is still just an exercise in futility, especially when we know that more than 70% of our schools are in rural and semi-rural areas where they don't have access to electricity, they don't have access to internet. Unless you are talking of biometric control that will not require electricity and will not require internet, I doubt whether we have attained that level. I saw the minister the other day in the presence of the Prime Minister inaugurating a smart classroom, and they were assuring us that it doesn't need internet and it does not need electricity. We wait to see how far that can be done. Don't also be surprised that you still find persons within the ranks of the ministry who will do everything to frustrate such innovative initiatives where they know the risk of affecting lifestyles and so many things. But I don't foresee biometric control at the level of classrooms and the signing of logbooks anytime soon. Not in our lifetime, Armstrong. Far from that. That's just a pipe dream, I should say.
Prof, we might just be thinking so far. Then a question I imagine a Cameroonian watching us at this moment will be asking is, what is pushing Cameroonian teachers away? What is this push factor? What is this thing that is pushing Cameroonians from in the educational sector? We also know that it is a problem too in the health sector. Let's talk about the push factors, Prof. What is it that is pushing our colleagues away from the classrooms and out of the Cameroonian frontiers?
The most outstanding push factor, Armstrong, is poverty and misery. Poverty and misery. We are not in a worst case scenario, but ours too is not the best. Again, as I said, we are not served what we deserve. how many civil servants can confidently plan for retirement on the basis of their monthly salary alone, if they don't have to cut corners and engage in other income-generating activities and engage in corruption? Armstrong, it is impossible for you to be a Cameroonian civil servant and you resist corruption. It is just impossible. It is just impossible for any Cameroonian civil servant to live and survive and live decently, basically on the meager salary that you have. And so people have to look for other means of you either abandon and leave the place, or you stay behind and you work half-heartedly and you are not effective at your service of work as some people do. You are present but you don't do the work that you are supposed to do. Whichever way it boils down again, as I said earlier, to what we are served. One of the most basic human instincts is the instinct of survival, self-preservation and survival, where you are able to take care of your basic needs, shelter, basic comfort, and those basic things that you need to also prove that you are not just existing. You are not just existing, but you are actually living. And so it's the situation will continue, and I'm sure even the minister herself knows that very little can be done, can be achieved, because even at the highest levels of governance, you find her collaborators and even some of her colleagues who are involved because they have to protect their own friends, their own relations, their own children. So it's an endless battle, and I want to assure you that 2 years from now or 1 year from now, we will still be talking the same thing. You will still call me up for this interview because we will still have the same complaints year in, year out.
Now, fairly enough, it is not only affecting teachers of the secondary educational sector. We also have teachers of basic education, and of course, I indicated already that the Ministry of Public Health is facing that, and several other ministries too, though the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, is taking this initiative in order to be able to save the face of her ministry. Now, what can the government of Cameroon do on a general scale in order to be able to fight against this disturbing trend of brain drain?
I'm sure you would accept with me that as much as it is very alarming in the teaching corps, secondary education, because it's one of the largest ministerial departments in terms of personnel, and because it's a ministry whose tentacles and whose services are experienced right into the hinterlands. That's why it is easily noticed. But you would accept with me, you would acknowledge with me that it is not limited to teaching. There is an acute or a massive exodus too in other services, other ministerial departments, in the public health, in basic education, and it might surprise you too also, or if it shouldn't surprise you. If we are honest, we must admit that prefer to put their lives on the line and go fight at a war front that has nothing to do with their existence and with their identity. And so there are several push factors that are forcing teachers, just as it is also affecting other citizens and landscape of the country. You must accept with me that it boils down to governance and the quality of life that citizens are offered, and which is a complete contrast of the quality of life that they would have expected, that they definitely deserve, or that they expect. You don't need to go beyond that to diagnose and to get the cause of it. It's that deception between the quality of life that they deserve and that they expect, and the quality of life that they are effectively served by those in whose hands our destinies lie.
That was Sama Abamungwa. I call him Mr. Sama Abamungwa. He is a critic, a social critic. He is a philosophy a teacher, and of course he joined us from Buea, chief town of the southwest region of Cameroon. Thank you immensely. Finally, we are grateful.
Yes, Armstrong, thank you so much. It was my pleasure, and I assure you, whenever you call and it's within my powers to be to answer your call, I commit myself. I always do. Thank you, and happy evening.
Have a blessed day there in the southwest region of Cameroon. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your keen attention. We urge you to stay in the company of interesting programs on your #1 television network, Equinoxe. Our next edition of news will be in the French language. That will be at 8 p.m. As for me, rendezvous is taken for tomorrow, same time on same platform. Meantime, stay blessed.